aspect.
Yay!
Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, June. Thank you for doing it.
No, it's fine. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. So
Great.
I'm going
Great.
to share my screen and we'll take it from the top.
Go for it. Ooh.
I know. Let's see if we can get this working. So we're following the book, The Garden of the Beloved by Robert Way. You make sure you're on mute, but if there's just the two of us, Jill, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue.
No.
So this is Lent 2024, reflection with readings. During our time together, my plan is to share with you a chapter or two per session, followed by a quiet time to reflect on what words mean to us, and then to have time to discuss its message. And I'll put some of the words on screen from the chapters. This book is based on the image of a garden with a master gardener called the lover and a young man who becomes the disciple. God is referred to as the beloved. Many of the readings are quite short, so the sessions will not be long. As we take a break from the busyness of life, let us pause for a few moments. So chapter 1, the apprenticing of the disciple. The lover was working in the garden which the beloved had given to him. All around him, the garden shone with a glorious radiance of colour, and sweet scents rose like incense. For the lover had planted in the garden beautiful flowers of every kind, and fragrant herbs, and all such plants as are fair to look upon or are beneficial to men. All this he planted for the pleasure of the beloved, and he tended it for the love he bore the beloved. And as he worked, he sang the words of Solomon, which he sang in his garden. Awake, O north wind, and come, thou south. Blow upon my garden, that spices may flow out. Let my beloved come to his garden, and eat of his precious fruits. While he sang and worked, there came into the garden a young man, dressed in rich clothes, who wore at his side a gilded rapier, set with jewels. Yet upon the handsome face of the man was an expression of sorrow and great yearning. He approached the lover, who was clothed only in his coarse gardener's robe, and bowing humbly before him, said to him, Sir, I have heard that you are a master craftsman in the art of love, and I desire beyond all things to become proficient in this art. I wondered if perhaps of your charity you would take as an apprentice one as ignorant and unskilled as myself. Whatever apprentice fee is due to you for this, I will gladly pay it, for I am rich as men count wealth. The lover ceased from digging in which he was engaged, and looked at the man long and searchingly. Then, since he was pleased with what he saw, he answered, Stranger, for myself, I should desire nothing if you should become apprentice unto me. For it is reward enough for me, and more than enough, that I should be able to perform any task which is pleasing to the beloved, or would make others love him more. But to the beloved you would have to pay a fee so high that almost all who seek their service are offended at it. Then answered the stranger, tell me, I beg you, what this great fee is, for so greatly do I desire to learn to love, that however high it is, I will gladly pay it. The fee, replied the lover, is no less than this, that you give everything that you have and everything that you are, so that you have nothing left that is your own, but only hold all things for the sake of the beloved. For if you hold back anything at all, you can never truly know the love of the beloved. Not that he will love you any less, for he already loves you to the full, but because your perception will be so clouded by that which you possess, that in your blindness you will never see the love of the beloved. If, asked the stranger, I pay this great price, tell me, I pray you, what shall I gain? Then answered the lover, when you have learned with much labour all the mysteries of the art of love, then when you have suffered much, you will gain at last the knowledge of the love of the beloved. Thereupon the stranger, for his soul greatly longed for the love of the beloved, gladly paid the whole fee, and stripped off the rich robes he was wearing, which men called knowledge and pride, and assumed the coarse gardener's habit, humility, such as the lover himself wore. And he threw away the jewelled rapier, which he was carrying, which men called learning, and took in its place a gardener's spade, the name of which is seeking. As he did this, it seemed that the day, which had been grey and cloudy, became suddenly glorious and bright, as though the sun had suddenly broken through the clouds. So the lover received the stranger, and he became his disciple, and he and the lover worked to make the garden beautiful for the sake of the beloved. We'll have a few moments for private reflection. So you can feel free to unmute as we share our reflections. And I've just got one thought for this evening. What will you take away from this evening's reading?
It reminds me, June, I absolutely love the book. And I've read it and reread it several times. It reminds me of Hinds' Feet on High Places.
Mm.
I know the stories are different, but it's as if there's Jesus and someone, the lover and someone, who wants more than anything to receive love or acceptance or whatever it is. And although the little girl in Hinds' Feet on High Places doesn't accept it immediately like this apprentice does. They both seem to get to that place at different speeds, but it's both where they need to be and they want to be. I think the little girl doesn't understand really, but this chap, this apprentice, he seems to get it straight away. You just have to lose things before you can gain things with God
Oh, I like that.
and me.
I like that.
Yeah.
And in that, he was willing to throw away what he was wearing. And what got me was that the world called
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
And he took on humility, and he threw away his rapier, and he took up a spade that's called seeking. And that phrase is just beautiful. And it also reminds me in the Bible of when the rich young man goes to Jesus and says, what can I have? How can I have what you've got? And he says, give everything away. And he just couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that is really on line with this. And also at polar opposites, because it's just that the disciple, when he became the disciple, he was willing to just leave the world and join in the garden for the beloved.
Very much agreed. And I love it that it says what the world thinks of learning, or what the world thinks is learning.
Yeah.
What it doesn't say, he threw away learning. Doesn't say that.
Nice.
It says he threw away what the world thought. Because for me, in the garden, you learn what God needs you to learn. That's true learning, not what the world thinks is learning. And then when he throws away his rapier, his sword, he swaps it. And way back in the Old Testament, it reminded me of the swords will be turned into plowshares. Well, it's exactly the same. Yeah. A sword is being swapped for a spade. It's exactly the same. A rapier is being swapped for something that is going to do good. Rapier swords, I know they're for defense, but essentially they're to kill someone. I know it's in defense. I do get that. But the purpose of it is an attack, whereas the purpose of a spade, a ploughshare, is, yes, to dig up the fallow ground. I know that. But it's to plant stuff, to make stuff, to grow stuff. And I just love it. I just love the whole idea of meeting Jesus and saying, I really want to know more about the Father's love. How do I do it? Well, chuck that away, chuck that away, chuck that away. You'll get much more in return, but I can't tell you what it is yet. Oh, and by the way, here's a spade. Now get digging.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Did you ever read the book? Was it Dear God? Dear Father? Oh, and you're going to ask me the name of the author as well. He was a famous preacher. And it was tiny little short chapters, only half a dozen lines, say, per page. And it was all about God's love.
Nice.
Beyond June. I'll try and find that book, because that book and Hinds' Feet changed my life, of how to just be loved. Just, this is how you are loved by God. Those two books changed my life.
I think it's wonderful if you can point to something like that.
Yeah.
I think with this book, because it's in short chapters that I'm going to cover over the next couple of 3 weeks, and it's taking things like this, like looking at the stranger that becomes the disciple, and it's us starting on our journey, and it's his. And I love the way you've talked about the learning, that it's a different learning. He doesn't throw away learning, he takes it. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful.
It is. But this book also has the potential, like those two for me, to change people's lives.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Let's move
There
on.
used to be a mystic. And again, her name will come back to me in a minute. I don't think it was St. Teresa of Avalon. I can't remember, but I read all her books. And she found the most valuable times with God were when she'd prayed out loud and shut up.
Oh, very telling.
Yeah. And in the silence, she felt completely subsumed by God. And we used to have a lady who came to chapel here. I did her husband's funeral. Begins with Karin. Her name is Karin. She's still alive. And at the end of every service, she used to sit. And if you went and said, all right, Karin, how you doing? She'd completely ignore you because she wasn't in the room anymore. She'd gone. Yeah. She'd gone to be with Jesus after we'd worshipped and prayed and preached and sung. When the last amen sounded, she bowed her head and she'd gone. Mm. And she could sit there, Reg'd have to wander about and talk and do what he liked because she'd gone to be with Jesus. And she could come back in 10 minutes, half an hour, and she didn't move. It was like she wasn't breathing, but she was. Mm. And that, for me, it's like these books that just take you to be with the Father. And that's where you are. You don't need to do anything, say anything, nothing. You just are with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we'll have prayer to close our session.
Nice.
And I like this. I'm from Mother Teresa. Prayer is putting oneself in the hands of God. I just love that. Which is what you were just saying.
It is.
So, Father, thank you. Thank you for inspired writers.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to share, and that this is going to get shared and shared and shared, and that's absolutely what it's there for. Thank you for Jill and ministry and all that she brings of you. Thank you for the spring and thinking about the flowers and thinking about the gardening. It all comes together. And thank you for learning more about you every day. We're sitting and something pops into our head. We're doing something and something pops into our head and we have to write it down. And every step is wonderful. And we give glory and honor to you, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, June. That was wonderful.
So thank you for joining me. And I look forward to spending time with you next one. Now, the next one is next Monday.
Yes. Lovely, June. It was absolutely, it was good for the soul.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right there.
It was
With the-
good for the soul.
Yeah, with the dinosaur
Yeah.
right behind your head.
Yes, I know. I'm in the chapel prayer corner. Where
I
else
know.
would be better?
I know. Oh, bless you. And I shall catch up with you soon.
Thank you for doing Sunday for me, June. God bless you.
Yeah. Enjoy
All
Sunday.
right. Thank you.
And I'll catch
Good
up with you
night.
next
God
Monday.
bless.
Good night. God bless.
Good night. God bless.